All right. Hello, two times, and welcome to the Picture Show podcast. I'm Noah.
And I'm Bryn, and today we have what I think is going to be a very fun episode. Noah actually has no idea what we're talking about today, which makes me even more excited. So naturally, in us fashion, we're celebrating my birthday. 4 months late now.
Yeah. If it's not belated, it's not a birthday.
It's true. So I thought that since we're celebrating my birthday late and we're also peak spooky season, my guess is this will come out around Halloween. We're going to do a little bit of mashup of my favorite things. So Noah, I have a question for you. Are you superstitious?
Very.
Very. Ooh, I can't wait. So excited. Okay, have you heard about the cursed horror movies?
The cursed ones? No.
And I'm not talking about movies about curses. I am talking about movies whose productions are rumored to be cursed. I have a list of 3 scary movies and a couple bonus ones that are not scary, whose productions are rumored to be heavily cursed, and I am so excited to talk about these today. All of these come from, let's say, pre-90s. So I'm really excited to see, A, if you've seen these movies, and B, if you know any of the superstitions surrounding them.
The lore.
The
Very
lore.
Superstitious. Writing on the wall. 13-month-old baby.
So the first movie that I want to talk about today is the original Exorcist from 1973.
A masterpiece.
Okay, so you, I'm guessing, are familiar with this movie.
Oh yeah, it's a staple.
Absolutely it is. You know, pea soup lives rent-free in everybody's brain. Have you heard of any of the curses surrounding the making?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Get into this.
Let me share with you. So for any of our audience members who have lived under a rock and have not seen The Exorcist, it is based on a book of the same name by William Peter Blatty. It's a horror sort of mystery about this young girl who is seemingly possessed by a demon. At first, her mom thinks that she is dealing with some kind of illness. She seeks out help from a doctor. Nothing happens, so she seeks out a priest, which they end up performing an actual exorcism. It is just a wild ride, start to finish. This movie almost got banned before it even hit theaters because it was so much for the time that it came out. However, it is recorded as one of the most profitable horror movies ever made, having made $441.3 million in the box office.
It's a lot more back then.
That's crazy to me. And I wrote down the stats for the other ones too, just for comparison. But yeah, so just a wild ride. The production was insane. Obviously, it was the 70s. It wasn't really a great time for like cast and crew safety on set.
A different time.
Yes, very much so. So we'll get right into it. One of the craziest things that happened when this movie was made is that a bird flew into the circuit box and the whole set caught on fire.
That poor bird.
Right. The devil's sacrifice, you know, whatever you want to call it. The whole set catches on fire. So the entire McNeil house. But you want to take a guess at what the only part of the set was untouched by the fire?
Was it her room?
It was her room.
Bad omen.
For our audience, her room is a place where the exorcism happens. That is where most of the movie is focused in. So, how crazy is that? That this whole set catches on fire, and her bedroom is the only thing that doesn't?
Do you know when in the production that happened?
I think it was pretty early on, because then, of course, they had to rebuild the whole set, which they were able to do, but...
I did not know that. What a production.
What a production. So then, we're going to skip a little bit post-production. Catch this. There was, in the cinema that the movie premiered in, there was a church across the street. And it got struck by lightning after the movie premiered, and the cross fell off of the church.
Now, one fishy thing is fishy, but two is a school.
That's a net full of fish right there.
That's a full net.
That's a stinky net full of fish.
Okay, but, I mean, things come in threes.
Okay, so I don't necessarily have any more production incidents, but I do have a list of injuries that happened.
A list of injuries, all right. Let's go! Let's go!
So, Linda Blair, who played Reagan, the girl who gets possessed, she fractured her lower back while she was filming.
She does a lot of flailing.
It led to a lifetime of dealing with scoliosis and chronic back pain. Like, she never recovered fully from that.
Damn.
That's a lot. I mean, the shit people go through for a role, like, that's nuts. But fracturing your back?
She's like 12 in the movie, too. She's very young.
She's young.
That's
Talk about
crazy.
dedication to performance, though. Let's see. One of the carpenters that was building the set lost his thumb, and a technician lost his toe.
That's just hazards of the job.
Losing body parts left and right, building a whole other person. What are we doing?
They should have used that. You said it was his thumb? They should have used it as a prop. He should have signed off. I would have signed off on that if it was me.
I mean, if you're going to lose a body part on the job, you might as well get the most out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Immortalize that thumb. You can show your kids that. Be like, you see that flying around the screen? Guess where that came from?
I am crazy enough, though, that if I did lose a body part, I'd probably keep it in a little formaldehyde jar.
I can see you having a whole collection, honestly.
I'd have
If you started, you wouldn't stop.
Yeah. Just
it's like, this is my ear. Like, I can live without one kidney.
I mean, have you ever seen your own kidney? I don't think so.
Mm-mm. Put it on
Actually, I would hope not. Okay, one of the craziest things that happened, though, is that, and I'd be curious to know if you've heard of this, because this was one of the few things that I knew prior to researching this, is that one of the extras who played a nurse ended up being convicted of murder and allegedly tied to a string of serial murders in New York.
Oh.
After the movie was produced.
Man, she must have had quite a time. That is crazy.
She was busy. I'm sorry, starring in major motion pictures and also murdering people? You got a lot. That's a full schedule.
That is a strange number of things around a movie like that. But I don't know. If it was cursed, wouldn't it be bad? Wouldn't the movie be bad?
Not necessarily.
Fair enough. Because the movie's amazing. There's swears in there I'd never heard before.
Hey, maybe whoever's in charge of curses actually just has really good taste in film.
I mean, they must have hired a sailor as a consultant. Because the things this little girl says are just horrifying. I mean, the first time I watched it, my mouth was like on the floor. Like,
yes.
Can you say that? And this movie came out in like 1973?
Three.
Yeah.
And
she's saying crazy stuff.
Yes, and she's doing crazy stuff. The part that gets me is the crucifix. What she does with the crucifix?
Yeah.
That part,
Please go see this movie.
How are they allowed to show this? Craziness.
I mean, and the movie was still so successful. It was a word of mouth, like, absolute smash hit.
It was, to the point where hospitals saw an uptick in people coming into the ER claiming that they were having like extreme hallucinations and that they were speaking languages they didn't know. Like, there was this huge like religious hysteria that came out of this movie. I have not heard of a whole lot of movies that have caused like that kind of a mass scale reaction in audiences.
I've seen this like movie in theaters. I saw this at the Roxy in our hometown, and it was this full Halloween screening. I was there with Winnie. Um,
I love that.
Shout out Winnie.
Shout
Um,
out, Woody.
but it was this really interesting crowd. I don't think I've ever been in a more diverse crowd. There was like people of all ages, people who had clearly seen this like many times, experts, and there was clearly a lot of people who had never seen it before, and like younger people, and it was such a treat to hear all the people's like reactions because this movie
Wow.
is, as Bryn said, an absolute ride. And there's these specific small cuts, these tiny flashes of a face. And I just will never forget hearing people scream in the theater at it. And it's such a blast. It's an ideal horror movie because it's genuinely disturbing, it's suspenseful, but it's also some of the most fun that you can have. Oh,
Absolutely.
utterly nuts. It's kind of nuts that people had not a great time making it because it seems like a blast. I was in New York a few years ago, and I went to the Museum of the Moving Image, and they have the puppet of the possessed Reagan
Oh,
um,
wow.
sitting in a glass box, and she's life size. She's very detailed, and she's just sitting there, and it's very eerie. I thought for sure you were gonna say one of the curses had to do with her,
Oh, I'm sure there's something.
because
Nothing the internet wants to give up, but that's.
it absolutely felt like the head was about to turn towards you. Like when you got close to it, it's just like it's incredibly eerie. It's a beautifully designed puppet. It's just yeah. If you're ever in New York, go to Queens, go to the Museum of the Moving Image. It's utterly utterly phenomenal. But
That's
yeah,
super
that
cool.
doll is there, and it's oh god, it sucks. It's creepy.
Yikes. That's so cool. I had no idea that was a thing that was still, like, around.
Yeah, lucky for us, preservation.
The things that do survive. Okay, are we ready for the second one? Because this one is the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah, let's move on.
Have you seen The Omen, 1976?
This is an embarrassing blind spot for me. I'm not the horror movie expert.
And that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Between the two of us, we cover all the bases.
Yeah, we get a little bit of everything.
Okay. I figured that that was going to be the case because The Omen is not nearly as popular. I would say, like, people know the name, but it's not really one that people take the time to watch. I only watched it for the second time the other day.
Did it hold up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever seen the remake? I'll bet
I
a
have
lot of people think
not.
of the remake because there was one from like the two that who's in that, like Kate Hudson or something. Maybe it's Nicole Kidman. That sounds like a Nicole
Maybe.
Kidman movie.
That sounds like something she'd do.
Yeah. Anyways, Omen.
So The Omen made a whopping 60.9 million in the box office, so not quite the close to 500 million that The Exorcist was at, but it's
That's
still
decent.
it stood the test of time. Okay, so The Omen,
It's a creepy kid
this
movie.
yes, creepy kid movie, which just added to the birth control list. I don't need to be dealing with all the
It's
shit
like
that.
that one, Orphan.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need that in my life. So Gregory Peck stars in this one, and I think he does a really good job in this movie.
Gregory
I
Peck.
Yes, I really enjoyed him in this movie.
For those that don't know, he was Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. He was Captain Ahab in Moby Dick. He's a legend.
Quite the range of roles there.
Yeah, I thought
Three
it, hit the
movies.
bases.
So The Omen is about this man and his wife who are expecting a baby, and the they're in like a convent or something, And a priest comes out and tells him that basically his baby has died, but his wife doesn't need to know because they have a replacement baby.
Mm-mm.
Why put your wife through all of that stress when you could just hand her this baby and everything's great?
If someone's telling you your wife doesn't need to know, she might need to know. She might need to know.
So for whatever reason, this guy's like, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. We'll take the bonus baby. Doesn't tell his wife.
Love a bonus baby.
Um, don't we all? I don't know. So flash forward to a few years later. This guy's a diplomat, so kind of a big name, right? Flash to a few years later, they're raising this child. He's kind of at this point like put it out of his head that like that's not actually my baby. Like he's just accepted this child. They call him Damien. That's his name. And you can tell like the mother is just not. They're not vibing. Mom and the baby not vibing. They just don't get along. Which like I get it, girl. Me either.
Yeah, honestly, sometimes a kid just has bad vibes, and that is what it is. You don't know that
Bad
kid
vibes.
anything.
So they're having a birthday party for him, and all of a sudden his nanny hangs herself. And just, it sets in motion this string of events. And effectively, what it comes down to is Damien is the Antichrist. And he found his way into this family because there's this whole like riddle prophecy that he is going to take over the world, and to do that he's going to go through like the political hierarchy to get there. And so Gregory Peck's character is trying to go through, and he goes on this huge long adventure to try to figure out how to murder this child.
So Gregory Peck is not the dad. He's just some guy.
He's the dad, but like not
Oh, he
really.
is.
Who is the dad? Satan? Nobody knows.
Okay, so he's the okay. He's not just
Yeah.
like some guy who's like, oh, that kid.
No, but a journalist tags along and is like, yeah, this kid's gotta go.
Okay, if I was like trying to figure out how to murder a kid, even if that kid is the Antichrist, and I'm pretty sure, I think a journalist is like the last person I would want around
So,
me.
and the kicker is, it's because the journalist knows that he's next on the chopping block to fucking die because of this kid.
Oh, okay, that explains it.
So he's like, yeah, actually, your kid's a demon, and he's got to go. And Gregory Peck's like, well, I mean, if you say so.
It's like, all right, I'm convinced.
This is, and obviously talking about these movies, there's going to be some spoilers here. There are some really key moments in this movie that the curses surrounding this production directly tie into themes from the movie, and that's what makes it so fucking wild. So, I'm gonna start off light on this one. So, there's a scene in the movie where Kathy, the mom, and Damien are driving through little, you know those zoos that you used to be able to just like drive through and you used to be able to like see all the animals, and they don't do
Like a
that anymore
safari,
because that's kind of, yeah.
or
But
whatever they
you
call
know, rich people safari where they have the zoo and you just drive through it, and it's obviously a terrible idea, so they don't do those anymore. But it was the 70s, so
that.
anyway.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where they're driving through the zoo, and these baboons just lose their fucking minds because they can tell that Damien's a demon baby. Baboon demon radar. Anyway, so the day after they filmed that scene, a zoo employee was killed by a big cat in the zoo.
What did the baboons do?
I would love to know.
They probably, yeah, they loved it. I feel like the
Second.
cat's innocent. I have to say that.
Cat's gotta be innocent. I mean,
That guy
you
was
put it
probably
in a
asking.
box. Sorry, you put
That's
a
a
cat in a
wild
box.
animal.
It's your fault.
R.I.P. to the guy, though.
Yeah, seriously.
That's, oh my goodness.
Okay, so second thing.
Second thing.
This is where it gets even crazier. So, there's a scene where a priest who has been trying to warn Gregory Peck's character about all of this is realizing that, like, oh god, it's after me, like, this is my time. This crazy storm picks up out of nowhere, and he's trying to run away from his demise, and he runs into a churchyard, and is trying to get into the church, and church is locked. And all of a sudden, lightning strikes the spire on the church, and it comes off and impales him.
Mm.
Impales him dead. So, both Gregory Peck and David Seltzer, who was a screenwriter for the movie, they were on separate planes out to filming, and both of their planes separately got struck by lightning a total of 3 times.
I would die. I don't know if I've ever
What?
been in a plane in a storm at all. Struck by lightning?
And I know that like modern planes are built to handle that kind of thing, and it's a huge rarity that anything like that happens. I don't know about planes in the 70s,
Yeah, I feel like it's like a tin can.
right? And if nothing else, like, wouldn't that mess up like the computer systems in the plane? I don't know. But
Did they have
craziness.
computers in the planes in the 70s? Probably
I mean,
not.
to some degree, they had to.
It's probably just like dials and buttons and like levers, like a
I don't know.
steam whistle.
Steam whistle. They've got little pedals underneath.
Yeah, maybe like a missile detection system, like the Incredibles. But I can't imagine like a computer. I don't know.
I mean, computer in the most rudimentary of terms, like not like what we're on right now, but like, the
Yeah, like
plane
the
has to
big
have some
giant
kind
one,
of yeah.
like that one from the Imitation Game that's like takes up the whole wall. It's just like
Yeah,
turning
that's actually the
stuff.
whole front half of the cabin is just that giant computer. Everybody has to like shimmy past it to get to their
So
seat.
I don't mind the computer.
So anyway, lightning strike.
So, anyways, a lightning strike
3 lightning strikes.
per plane
Not per plane, like in total. I don't know
in
whose
total.
plane got struck twice, but
I
3?
hope not Gregory Peck.
I
I hope
hope
the
not.
other
I mean,
guy.
clearly he survived.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. How old was Gregory Peck in the 70s? How old is he in that movie?
That's a great question. That's one note I did not write down.
I just always think about Gregory Peck in black and white, so it's
Yeah.
hard to imagine him in a 70s movie.
Well, let me paint the picture for you. White guy.
That sounds about right. 76. Okay, he was like 60.
I was gonna say he looks like late 50s ish, but
Okay,
I
okay.
didn't actually know his age. So
Still in his era. Still able to get it done.
still in the dad range.
What an actor. What an American legend.
He does really good in this movie, so
I'm gonna have to
I
check
think
this
it's really
out.
good.
It's been on my
It's
radar, but I've not like pulled the trigger on it. There's a lot of classic
well,
horror movies I haven't seen.
I'm about to blow your mind even more. If you thought lightning was crazy, just wait.
I did think lightning was crazy, so
It
now
gets
I'm waiting.
crazier. It gets crazier. Okay, so the same year that the movie was released, John Richardson, who was in charge of the special effects for the movie, he was in Holland filming a different movie. And him and his assistant girlfriend, I don't really know the actual relation there, they got into a car accident and she was decapitated.
Oh,
There is a scene in the movie where the journalist who is along on this adventure trying to figure out how to murder the demon baby gets decapitated.
that's a little too.
On the nose, right? How often do you actually hear about somebody getting decapitated in a car accident? Like, not
Almost
super often.
never.
Almost
Most of the
never.
decapitations I know about are French. It's very uncommon outside of France. Decapitation is it's definitely much more of an old world death, you know. Not a
Yeah,
lot of decapitations in these
yeah,
parts.
yeah. So, what are the fucking odds that this character gets decapitated and then the same year that that movie comes out?
Someone connect that is nuts.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. Okay, and then what's crazier to add to that is that John Richardson. Oh, well, one, this happened on Friday the 13th, and I
That
checked. I checked.
No
I
way.
fact checked it. It happened on Friday the 13th.
You found a news clipping or what?
No, I looked up her death date,
Oh
and then
no.
I
Oh yeah.
Googled to see if that was a Friday, and it was.
That's nuts.
So then, this is the part that I can't substantiate. I don't know if this is actually true. But John Richardson claims that after he got out of the wreck, he saw a sign for a city called Amen, which is spelled Ommen, 66.6 kilometers away.
No way. No way.
I don't know about that part because somebody else came out of that and was like, Holland doesn't have decimal points on their mile markers, so that's ridiculous. But
Someone else could have measured a different way.
what if it was a hallucination? Like, what if he got out of that accident and he just, like, you know?
That's dark sided. I rebuke that. I rebuke that.
Craziness, right?
The almond? What the hell is the almond? The Dutch are what a
Stop naming your towns creepy things.
I just have to say Dutch is by far the funniest language on earth.
It absolutely is.
Just
and
hilarious.
I love it for that. They're so unserious for that language.
Just garbled.
Just
I love it. I love it. Like, decide if you want to be English or German, please. A
You
book?
can't just mash the two together. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. All right, are you ready for movie number 3?
Number 3. Let's go.
Poltergeist, 1982.
Another blind spot.
Really?
Really, truly.
Ooh, that is one that you do need to see. That one's a pretty good staple.
It's an 80s one?
Yeah, it's 1982.
Okay.
It's written and produced and rumored to actually be directed by Steven Spielberg.
He would ghost direct something.
Well, he was kind of a menace during filming, so. The credited director is Tobe Hooper.
Oh yeah, Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
Is it Toby? Is it Toby?
I don't know. Listen, don't come to me for name pronunciations.
Oh god. I've never heard of it.
I'll get it wrong every time.
I'm a fake fan.
I'm doing my very best. It's just not very good. So anyway, Poltergeist. 121.7 million in the box office. So, pretty up there.
What year did it come out?
1982.
All right, that's pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. So it's about this family living in California, and all of a sudden they start experiencing spooky stuff around the house, right? As the name would suggest. Well, over time, as it starts to escalate, they find out that their house was built on an ancient Indian burial ground, as it is said in the movie. Yeah.
Oh, the 80s.
The 80s. And so the main character, who is this little girl, her name is Carol Ann. She's played by Heather O'Rourke. She ends up disappears because the ghosts take her. Wild
As they
ride.
do.
There's ghosts in the television. There's a tree that moves on its own. There's flooding with skeletons. Insane. So, are you ready to hear about all of the shit that went down with this movie?
Let's go.
Okay, because this gets a little dark, and I'm so sorry. So this is actually what got me thinking about doing this episode, because I believe it's a trilogy. There might be more than 3 movies, but I think it's a trilogy. And it's said that all 3 of these movies are cursed. And I only got through the first 3 of them. So Heather O'Rourke, this one's really sad. This one makes me really sad. She passed away at the age of 12 after a medical misdiagnosis. So she was little when they filmed the movie, and she was already dealing with these medical issues at the time, and they misdiagnosed her with Crohn's disease. And then she dealt with these issues for several more years, and then had 2 heart attacks and died because her bowel was obstructed and they wouldn't actually treat her for it.
Oh my god.
But
take women seriously.
Yes, but the issue started while she was filming.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Okay, it gets worse. Dominique Dunn, who played the sister, her character's name is Dana. The same year the movie was released, she was murdered by her ex-boyfriend, strangled in her own driveway. That's fucking sad. Gets worse. Poltergeist 2. Two more people died. Julian Beck, who played an evil priest in the second one, he died of stomach cancer right after filming Wrapped. And then Will Sampson, who played a shaman, died after filming when he went through a heart and lung transplant and got a kidney infection afterwards. What the hell? Why are so many people dying out of these movies? And like,
In the
those are
craziest
pretty,
ways.
yes, those are pretty gruesome ways to go.
Something's afoot.
Something is
Okay,
afoot.
I can see how these rumors get started. I can definitely see how these rumors get started.
Because it's not just the first one this time. Like, it's not just Poltergeist. It's at least the first and then the sequel, right? That's insane. Now this one, I kind of grapple with whether or not I believe this, but there have been like a lot of claims that have come out about this, and this is one of the reasons that I say Spielberg was a fucking menace during filming. Jo Beth Williams, who played the mother, Diane, she found out from one of the props technicians after filming that they used real skeletons because they were cheaper at the time than fake ones.
That's just a practical business decision. Can't be mad at that. They probably cleaned the bones. The bones were clean. There's no meat hanging off. It's fine.
Can you imagine though?
Yeah, no, that would actually give me nightmares if I found out afterwards.
That's why people
That's
think it's
horrible.
cursed. That's why people think the
And
movie's cursed.
that's extremely cursed. They're not even. That's just cursed. That's absolute. I feel like you could sue.
Especially if I was her, because like the scene that she talks about during this is basically like she's in skeleton soup. Like it's flooding. There's skeletons that because they're on top of the burial ground, so when it floods, skeleton soup. Can you imagine you're in a pool of water with real fucking skeletons? Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
I
I'd
love
quit.
spooky shit more than the next person, and my insides would be on the outside. Absolutely not. I would become one of the skeletons.
Yeah, just cease in that moment. That's horrifying.
That's awful. My god.
And so the first three Poltergeist movies, they're all cursed.
That's what I've read.
Honestly, I feel like you could make Poltergeist movies in perpetuity. Like,
You absolutely could.
and it doesn't even have to be a house every time because, like, the way we built this country, the supermarket, the church, a school, just poltergeists everywhere. You could do a poltergeist in every state.
How you feeling? How you feeling about our cursed horror movies so far?
I had heard some things I think about The Exorcist, but I'm feeling more convinced about these other ones. Sight unseen. I feel like the curse is very real.
It's gotta be. At least with The Omen. I was so excited to talk about that because what the hell? Quite literally.
Okay, we gotta rank how cursed these are. I think most cursed is The Omen.
Absolutely.
I think The Omen. I mean, it's that little kid. It's
It's
the
not
fact
a
that,
kid. It's
like,
children.
even though he's acting, he's creepy. There's something up with it. He's doing something. That
No, that
he's the
child
curse.
actor, that child actor absolutely did not get paid enough because he is creepy as hell.
They didn't even have to like tell him to do anything. He just showed up like that and did it.
No, seriously. Have you seen an image of that child's face? Terrifying.
Don't look it up if you're going to bed.
No. If I saw that child in public, I would punt it. 100%. Like a football.
I think second most cursed, and I think it's pretty close. I think Poltergeist.
I agree.
That's
That's
pretty cursed.
that's too many deaths.
9 out of 10 curses. But yeah, too many deaths. Ugh, is that maybe the most cursed? It's close. Something about The Omen still just feels wrong. Feels deeply wrong.
It's the parallels for me with The Omen. Like how similar all of the events were to things that actually happen in the movie. No.
And okay, I just have to say, The Exorcist, least cursed.
Least cursed.
It's kind of cursed. It's pretty cursed, but it's also just so good.
Outside of the fire, I feel like it's more so the fact that it didn't touch her bedroom. That's what's weird to me about that.
Like, did it rage on? Did they like
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how far it got. I
mysteries?
know that
I
they
need
had to rebuild the whole set. So, are you ready
Oh,
for the
there's
next one?
more.
Because I thought to myself, you know what, Bryn? Horror is just not everybody's cup of tea. You got to come up with something else that's cursed. So I'm gonna ruin a couple more movies for you.
Bryn ruins movies. We could make that a segment.
I
That's a
actually
I
love
like
that idea.
that's a let's go writing that down. You could ruin one movie per episode.
Okay, we are going to talk about one that I know that you like a lot. And that is, of course, Apocalypse Now.
Oh, one of the best. Look at that. Oh, just beautiful. Just beautiful. One of the best.
Okay, since I've been yapping this whole time, how about you give a rundown of this one?
Apocalypse Now is Francis Ford Coppola's 1979 masterpiece. It's just an unhinged descent into darkness centered around the Vietnam War. It's, I guess you could say it's an adaptation. It's a parallel to the book The Heart of Darkness, which is about a journey down the Amazon River, but it's about a commando who's about to go home when he gets a summons to go down this river in Vietnam because there's some leader, I don't know what you would call him, a lieutenant, something like that, a sergeant, a general, one of those titles. Anyways, he's down the river and he's going crazy and he's doing crazy stuff. So they're like, you gotta go eliminate this guy because he's making us look bad, which, America during Vietnam. So, yeah, Charlie Sheen's dad goes down the river in hunt of the Godfather, and it's a wild time. Lawrence Fishburne is in it. He's very young. Other people, but no, for real, it is just it's just a phenomenal film. Francis Ford Coppola, who I'm going to be talking about Megalopolis soon on the podcast for a mini episode, and Apocalypse Now is much better. Apocalypse Now is just phenomenal, but I would not be surprised to hear that any Francis Ford Coppola production was cursed because the way that man produces work is utterly insane.
Well, when you hear the lengths that he and everybody else had to go through to make this happen, I think it's actually going to give you a lot more reverence for this movie, as
Oh,
I
the
hope it does for
headspace.
everybody else, because holy shit. If I had to fight through as many things as they did to get this movie made, I would have given up. That would have been trashed. So, just starting off really nice and light. 2 months after they started filming, Typhoon Olga hit and wiped fucking everything out. Just anything they started, gone.
Well, and the landscape they're filming in is difficult work.
Right, so
Difficult
they're
work.
filming in the Philippines. So immediately, like, the terrain that you're dealing with is unique in and of itself. To have a typhoon hit, you have a swamp. Like, there's nothing left. So that delayed everything, as you can imagine. After they got stuff going again, Martin Sheen suffered a near fatal heart attack and had to walk 1.5 miles to get help.
Oh, he also wounded his hand during a scene in the movie, and the take where he wounds his hand near the beginning is in the film in the hotel room. He was having a bad time.
He had a very bad time, and it only got worse. One of the workmen on set was killed by a log while building it, smushed. The entire cast and crew was struck with dysentery.
That I knew.
That's nuts. They coped with it by doing a lot of drugs, but it's the 70s.
1979, baby.
Yeah,
I feel like
a
you
lot of
could get
drugs.
away with anything on a Francis Ford Coppola set. I feel like the rules don't apply.
There were none.
I mean, they
There were
apply,
none.
but like.
Speaking of, He was hospitalized for malnutrition and dehydration at one point. Let's see. There was a whole civil war happening in the Philippines while they were filming. So the helicopters that they were using in the movie, they were borrowing from the Philippines government.
Oh no.
And so the government kept like recalling the helicopters to actually use in the real serious civil matters that were happening. Like, hey, give us our helicopters back. We have some shit going on. Like, okay,
I
I'll
don't know
just
how I
pause my
feel
movie.
about using those. Yeah.
But I also imagine it would have been hard to get their own and very expensive get their own helicopters out there. So
One thing, I guess you gotta respect Francis Ford Coppola because he will go to any length to get a film done.
well, and it got
Because,
to a point because the local tensions were so high that at one point every cast member had to have their own bodyguard 100% of the time while filming because they were so worried about something actually happening. That's
yeah,
crazy. I would go home.
yeah, or find somewhere else to film. But at that point, you just gotta dig in and make it, I guess.
What makes that tough is that at one point their entire payroll was stolen. So they just had
Stolen.
no money. Stolen. Just taken. Bye bye. No money. It is a
Oh,
miracle that we have the movie that we have.
it really is a miracle because the film is actually like phenomenal.
It really is.
It's one of my all-time favorites. I remember the first time I saw it and it just like it's hard to predict what that movie turns into and just how impactful it is, and it's also just a really scathing critique of American foreign policy. Yeah, it's a very smart adaptation, I would say, to move it into Vietnam, but it's just a one of a kind, once in a generation type of film. We're never going to see a production like this ever again. It's even among Francis Ford Coppola's own, legendary filmography. It kind of stands alone, at least in my opinion. Is it controversial? I like it more than The Godfathers, but it's a powerful and unique film. One of the best war films of all time. The best. I'll say it.
It's so good. And for that sort of a production to come out of everything that they had to deal with is so impressive. And it gives me so much more respect for what that movie turned into because every single odd was against them.
It's honestly inspiring. Like if you're cursed, just keep going. Just keep going. You know, you carry the curse with you everywhere, but you can still make it work.
It's funny and it's kind of sad is that while I was researching everything that happened for this movie, like the number one thing that kept coming up is how out of shape Marlon Brando was when he showed up. Like, how mean are people that, like, they had a whole typhoon and they're still like, Marlon Brando was fat?
That poor guy.
I
You know,
know.
the same thing happened to Ryan Gosling. He was hired for The Lovely Bones, and he showed up like 50 pounds overweight without telling anyone. He was like, I just thought it'd be a good idea for the character. And Peter Jackson was like, no. But good for Ryan Gosling, because then he didn't have to be in a bad movie. Sometimes it's a blessing.
Yeah, well, true. Marlon Brando was, you know.
Yeah, I'm not firing Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
No.
No.
He could show up looking like whatever. Marlon, get in there and say those lines.
But just like, that's so harsh. Like, everything that they went through, and still, like, the number one thing that everybody is like, man, this really sucks, is he was fat.
Yeah, I'm
Give
sure
him a
he
break.
cried into his pools of money.
Yeah. Really tough time for him.
But you know what? He doesn't even look that bad. It's honestly, I'm more shocked by the baldness. Is that a spoiler? Marlon Brando's bald in the movie.
That would be a spoiler for me. I love him too much to be blindsided by baldness.
We're Marlon Brando sickos over here.
Are you ready for my final curse in film?
Final cursed film. I love it. Let's go.
Now this one I'm sure you'll be familiar with as far as the background on it. But I find this production so fascinating for every reason under the sun. What's behind the curtain? Well, folks, it's The Wizard of Oz.
I felt like it was the Wizard of Oz. I felt like it was the Wizard of Oz for sure.
I feel like you can't talk about uh, cursed productions without talking about all of the shit that happened with this movie. I mean, obviously, like, this is the milestone movie of cinema, right? Like, this is
It's
the
a touchstone.
biggest. Absolutely. It's the biggest name in cinema history. Like, you're gonna have a lot of shit, but so much of it was experimental. So, what else is gonna happen but a ton of really awful stuff?
Yeah, this movie came out in 1939. The director, I mean, first of all, he wasn't the first director attached to this project. Even during filming, it had a really crazy production.
Mm-hmm.
But the same year, he also directed Gone with the Wind. Insane year for Victor, whatever his name was. I can't think of it right now. But yeah, 1939. The safety precautions on set,
Non
shockingly
existent.
few. Yeah, I know. For one, there was asbestos used as snow.
Mm-hmm.
That's one awful thing, and I think many people are familiar with how Julie Garland was treated as a youngster on set,
She was 16 when they filmed that.
and they kind of just had her drugged up.
She was limited to cigarettes and coffee. That was her diet. That's where it started, and it just got worse.
The only other one I'm aware of is there's a rumor of like a hanged body in one of the
So
forest sets.
yeah, so I have heard and read about that quite a bit, but it has been since revealed that they had exotic birds on set to use in some of the scenes, and one of them got loose and was flapping around in the background.
Oh, okay.
So, still odd. I don't know how you mistake a bird for a body,
Yeah,
but
I heard that all the time growing up. And I
yeah,
never found the frame like watching the film, so
I
I just kind
haven't
of wrote it
either.
off.
Yeah,
It's nice
so
to
I
know that
don't
there's
know.
an explanation.
At least I hope so. I mean,
I
we
wish
all
we
know
could explain
Hollywood
away the asbestos and the
and the
abuse.
verbal and physical abuse. Yeah, I'd love to be able to do that too. So, unfortunately, you can't refute a slap in the face in front of a bunch of other people.
Yeah, man, 39 sucked.
What a time to
I'll
be
be
in film.
I'll be the first to say it. They weren't so nice back then. Is there any other curses that I'm not aware of?
100%. So, Buddy Ebsen was the original Tin Man, and they were using aluminum dust for the silver paint, like the silver makeup. That it poisoned him, but he almost suffocated to death under the makeup. And he was hospitalized for that. And the production team didn't believe that it was serious enough for him to be hospitalized until the hospital itself told them, like, hey, no, he's going to be basically under a bubble, an oxygen bubble, for 2 weeks because he's dying right now. So rather than being like, oh shit, wow, that awful, our bad, they replaced him.
Ah, tough
So
business.
they replaced him with Jack Haley, and don't worry, they learned their lesson. They didn't use just pure aluminum dust. They made a paste out of it.
So he still probably got poisoned, right?
Oh, he sure did, and he got an infection in his right eye, but it was treatable, so he could keep filming.
Okay, so we've got the asbestos, we've got aluminum poisoning. I mean, we can get
And
some more poison in there. I'm sure we can get some more poison.
oh, we're gonna keep adding minerals to the list because Margaret Hamilton, she played the Wicked Witch of the West. She had copper in her green makeup. I don't know why that was the element that got mixed in there. I don't know how
Oh,
copper
copper
gets
turns
green.
green. Copper turns green. Something like that.
Yeah, but I
Maybe it's
thought
like
that
a
that was like over time. I thought as it oxidizes over time, it turns green. Anyway, so
maybe
copper and
it,
green
it
makeup.
was already exposed and they ground it up.
Just left it out. It's that
Yeah,
stale copper.
you really got to plan ahead for that. I'm gonna leave this out for a couple years in case I need to use it.
In case I need to make a green lady. So her green makeup reacted with one of the pyrotechnic stunts. Because you know how they like have that
Oh,
explosion cloud in front of her. She got second and third degree burns. Third degree burns. And they had to hose her off on site so that the copper didn't get into her burn wounds.
Oh, man. Third degree, that's like the worst degree. It's a valuable contribution to this podcast. You know they didn't compensate her. I guarantee you they probably did not compensate her for... They probably didn't compensate any of these people for what happened to them.
God, no. And it gets worse. She was quoted saying that she knew that if she had sued them for that, if she had backed out of the film and tried to sue them for it, that it would be the end of her career, that she would never be hired again anywhere. Because that's how it was for women in Hollywood. And so she agreed to come back to the film as long as she did not have to do any more of the pyrotechnic stunts. Her stunt double was doing a scene with the broom, and was, it's like where she like takes off. And the broom exploded on like the third take that they were doing that.
The broom exploded?
Broom exploded.
I don't want a broom to explode.
Why would you want
Not when
an
I'm
exploding
ready.
broom? No. So then the stunt double had burns all over her legs.
I feel like you need those as a stunt double.
Let's see, what else? Two of the flying monkeys received serious injuries after their hoist system snapped and they fell. But the worst part, this made me mad. This made me mad in my gut. Toto got stepped on. Toto got stepped on.
Did they know who did it? Did he go to jail?
They should have. I don't remember who did it. That part wasn't important to me. He got stepped on and it hurt his leg. He sprained his leg.
He sprained his leg. So that wasn't even just like a tiny step. Like, what did they stomp?
Stompled. And actually it was she. The dog was a girl, but...
she didn't deserve it.
She got stomped on. And they just made sure her leg was functioning and made her keep going.
That's crazy. You couldn't put her in a basket and carry her around. Treat her with some respect. She's a lady.
Right? She's a lady. She's a lady dog who got stepped on. So that's the list of atrocities that surrounded The Wizard of Oz. What a nightmare production to be a part of.
And, these movies all ended up pretty good despite it.
I know, right? I mean, I guess, on some level, outside of the abuse, worth it. But...
Oh, yeah. I don't know. See, when I think of cursed movies, I think of like Free Guy or Pixels or like the Emoji Movie.
Boyhood.
Yeah, that's not even a curse, it's just an insult. That movie's just like calling you a honky to your face. No. Is this relatable? Is this relatable, honky? No.
Thanks, I hate it.
No, but I lost my train of thought.
Well, that wraps my list of cursed movies.
Hey, it's a good list. I should have come up with my own, but I didn't know what was happening.
That's okay. I changed it up on you.
I have to give myself grace.
I'm keeping you on your toes. It's okay. There are plenty of movies that you talk about on this podcast where I'm like, I don't know what that is. I've never seen that before. So,
we gotta do... I mean, that's what this podcast is for.
I gotta trip you up sometimes, okay?
No, I like it.
People are gonna start thinking I'm bad at my job.
You gotta keep it on my toes.
Trying. Thanks for joining me on my special birthday episode where what else would I talk about but cursed things. Hope you enjoyed this special spooky episode. You can find us on our socials listed on screen as always. You can send us questions to our emails or comment on any of our various posts.
Until then, keep an eye out for some more upcoming mini reviews.
Until next time, watch a good movie and tell your friends about it, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye!
See ya!